Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute warmly welcomes you to its world-class educational campus that showcases excellent infrastructure facility housing various departments in diverse fields of study. Faculty of Engineering and Technology. IBM Lab, R&D Microsoft Lab, Sun Java Lab, .NET Lab, CDAC Garuda Lab, Internet Center, Apple iMac Lab, Cisco Net Academy, High Tech Lab, Cyber Forensic Lab, Intel, Internet of Things Lab, Communication Lab 1, Electronic Circuits and Devices Lab, QMAX VLSI Testing Center, Linear Digital Integrated Circuits, Microwave and Optical Communication Lab, VLSI and Embedded Design DSP Lab, Microprocessor Lab, Electrical Machines Lab.
Good afternoon. This is Dr. Durga. On behalf of Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute, I'm extremely happy to welcome all the eminent personalities, heads of various departments, staffs, students, and my dear participants to a webinar on exploiting marine bacteria for production of value-added biomaterials from renewable resources, an effort towards embracing circular economy, organized by Faculty of Engineering and Technology, first year BTech, and Faculty of Education in collaboration with Office of International Relations. To present on this topic, we having with us our today's chief guest, Associate Professor, Technologist, Dr. Kesaven Bhubalan, Head of Marine Science and Acting Deputy Dean, Talent and Research, Faculty of Science and Marine Environment, Universiti Malaysia, Terengannu. Recently, research on marine bacteria have attracted a great attention due to its various industrial applications. And also, the value-added biomaterials from marine microbes has opened a new chapter for the benefit of mankind. It's really appreciated to brought up webinar, especially in this topic. And dear students, it's a great opportunity to all of you to interact with our today's chief guest and get some ideas and views on marine bacteria. At MGR University, we don't want to focus academics alone. We want a well-rounded personality. That's why we conduct seminars, webinars, conferences, and workshops where you get an opportunity to showcase your talents. Unflinching and continuous involvement, support, and commitment of the management will pave the road for exciting and memorable learning experience at university campus. At this point, I would like to state Tamil quote here, I feel, which exactly suits to our university as well as to our management. I have taken Tirukural, which is presented in Oppura Varidal chapter, written by the great Tamil poet and the philosopher Thiruvalluvar. ஊருணி நீர் நிறைந்தற்றே உலகவாம் பேரறிவாளன் திரு. இக்குறளின் பொருள் யாதெனில், உலகின் வளர்ச்சி போக்கை அறிந்து செயல்படும் பேரறிவாளனின் செல்வம் நீர் நிறைந்த குளம் எல்லாருக்கும் பொதுவாவது போல் பொதுவாகும். இந்த உவமையை எம்முடைய பல்கலைக்கழகத்துடன் பொருத்தி பார்க்க விழைகிறேன். ஒரு ஊரின் நடுவே அமைந்திருக்கும் குளத்தில் நிறைந்துள்ள நீரானது எவ்வாறு அவ்வூர் மக்களின் வளர்ச்சிக்கு பயன் தருகிறதோ, அதுபோலவே எம் பல்கலைக்கழகமானது கல்வி ஊற்றாக திகழ்ந்து பல்வேறு மக்கள் பயன்பெறுகின்ற வகையில் கல்வி சேவையில் சிறந்து விளங்குகின்றது. இதற்கு எம் பல்கலைக்கழகம் இவ்வாறு சிறந்து விளங்குவதற்கு முக்கிய காரணம் எம் பல்கலைக்கழகத்தின் நிறுவனரும் வேந்தருமான உயர்திரு ஏ.சி. சண்முகம் ஐயா அவர்களும் மற்றும் அவர் வழி நின்று நடத்தும் எம் பல்கலைக்கழக தலைவர் உயர்திரு ஏ.சி.எஸ். அருண்குமார் ஐயா பொறியாளர் அவர்களின் ஆக்கத்திறனும் சேவை மனப்பான்மையுமே காரணம். இந்த கருத்தை இங்கு பதிவு செய்வதில் நான் பெருமிதம் கொள்கிறேன். In this afternoon, we having with us respected Principal, Faculty of Education, Dr. Geeta Ma'am, to deliver a welcome address. I request Dr. Geeta Ma'am for welcome address. Ma'am. Geeta Ma'am.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. Our warm welcome to everyone. Our national security depends upon energy security by Tom Allen with this quote on behalf of Faculty of Education, first year BTech, and Dr. MGR Educational Research Institute. I extend my gratitude to our Honorable Chairman, A.C. Shanmugam, and President and eminent person, Engineer A.C. Sarun Kumar, for permitting us to conduct this webinar and for their constant support to encourage all of us to do webinars like this to share knowledge global wise. Personal drive to achieve enthusiasm, initiatives, commitment towards attain the goals is practically important, also powerful as the mind share. Groom your roots to grow. By saying this note, I feel honored to have such an eminent person. We are very proud to welcome you, sir, our chief guest, Associate Professor, Dr. T.S. Kesaven Bhubalan, Head of Marine Science and Acting Deputy TD, Talent and Research, Faculty of Science and Marine Engineering, University of Malaysia. My hearty welcome you, sir, on behalf of me and our university for accepting our invitation to share your knowledge to succeed in our students' career. We are once again welcome you, sir, on behalf of all of us. I am immensely pleased to welcome our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Geeta Lakshmi Madam, Dr. MGR Educational Research Institute. In spite of her busy schedule, she has joined with us. Welcome you, Madam. My warm welcome to all the faculty members and students from University of Malaysia and other institutions from various parts of our nation and other international universities. Our hearty welcome to all the participants for this webinar. I also extend my warm welcome to Dr. Cyril Raj, academic, JR Academic in charge, Dr. N.S. Subashri Madam, Dean E&S, first year BTech, Dr. Kausalya, Coordinator, Office of International Relations, and all the executives of our university for their encouragement. I extend my warm welcome to everyone of our university family. Finally, I welcome our university students and teaching and non-teaching staff, whoever has given their hands to conduct this webinar for these days. Not only from Faculty of Education, from BTech first year faculty members, teaching and non-teaching staff members, Kausalya Madam, who has supported us, as well as Dean Subashri Madam. Our heartful thanks as well as warm welcome to one and all present here. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for the warm welcome. Next, may I please request respected Dean, E&S, Dr. N.S. Subashri ma'am for introductory address.
Thank you, Dr. Durga. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So once again, let me extend my warm welcome to all the dignitaries present here. As a part of organizer, I would like to thank our Honorable President for allowing us to have such great and very effective academic interactions even during the pandemic time. I welcome our VC Madam, Joint Registrar Sir, and all the dignitaries, participants, my dear faculty members here. It is really exciting to have a webinar on exploiting marine bacteria for production of value-added biomaterials from renewable sources and effort towards embracing circular economy. At this juncture, I would thank my co-organizer, the Faculty of Education, and also Office of International Relations, Dr. R. Kausalya, for trusting us and giving us yet another opportunity for a collaborative webinar. When you enter the scenario, learning becomes fun. Cooperation is expected. Our positive attitudes and mutual respect are part of everything we do or say. Whenever such an webinar is conducted, the list of engagement strategies is meant to help the event planners in moderation and the speakers to make the webinar more interactive. Today, when I look at the topic, it is truly a multidisciplinary topic. It has got multidisciplinary facet of both science, technology, as well as the society. So I think it's a great opportunity for the participants to know more about this from our speaker. I would also extend my warm welcome to Associate Professor Dr. Kesaven Bhubalan, Head of Marine Science and Acting Deputy Dean, Talent and Research, Faculty of Science and Marine Environment, Universiti Malaysia, Terengannu. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being with us. Definitely, I hope your speech would inspire many of us, and it will also make us to take a career, our participants to take a career in a multidisciplinary aspect. Truly, today is a very remarkable day because we are organizing a beautiful program. Once again, I welcome all and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I would like to call upon respected Registrar Academics, Dr. V. Cyril Raj sir, for felicitation address.
Respected, excuse me, 1 minute. Respected faculty, friends, beloved students, sorry for the interruption. I was on the way for a meeting. This multidisciplinary lecture arranged by the Faculty of Engineering and Science in collaboration with the University of Malaysia, Terengannu. Really, it's very interesting. Very recently, in fact, our university, we brought one eminent professor by name Dr. Abdul Rahman, who is doing a lot of work on marine biology. His age is around 82. Uh, Very recently, in fact, he has helped us in applying around three different projects for our university to Department of DST, Science and Technology. During the time, actually, we were thinking about why don't we have international collaborations, because actually the way the topics were handled and then the interest shown by our students as well as the faculty members, it shows that there are tremendous opportunities in this domain. I think all of us, we are aware it is only from the water the life has started. So definitely, with the latest developments which are happening, how we are polluting the Mother Earth, basically how we are polluting the sea. I mean, there are a lot of things which need to be uh, focused. So definitely, kind of seminars like this will enable our faculty members as well as our students to be more resilient towards this topic. So thanks to Dr. Kausalya, and then the Dean E&S, and then the principal of B.Ed College for arranging such a very needy topic for discussion today. Then I would like to thank the resource person also for accepting our invite to share his valuable knowledge with our faculty as well as student community. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. This is a time for the introduction of chief guest. Let me call upon Dr. Sendamil Pavai, Faculty of Education, for chief guest introduction.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm profusely elated to take the opportunity to introduce our chief guest, Dr. Kesaven Bhubalan, Associate Professor, Head of Marine Science, Deputy Dean of Talent and Research at the Faculty of Science and Marine Environment with Universiti Malaysia, Terengannu. He has completed his PhD in microbial biotechnology from Universiti Sains Malaysia in 2010. And his field of expertise includes bacteria-derived biomaterials, bioprocesses, biodegradation, and gene expression. He has been actively involved in teaching, research, and innovation, as well as knowledge transfer programs. His research team have designed and performed experiments on microbial-derived polyhydroxyalkanate and Remnant Lipid. To add feather in his cap, he was awarded government-funded FRGS, ERGS, PRGS, and PPRN research grants as well as short-term university grants. He has recently received Erasmus Plus Capacity Building in Higher Education grant as one of the project partners in Asia. He has successfully guided over 10 postgraduate students as main and co-supervisor until project completion in PhD and MSc degree by research. To date, he has published more than 60 research outputs in scientific journals, chapters in book, monograph, and conference paper. He was also involved in the development of Malaysian educational module on responsible conduct of research, and he has facilitated RCR programs and workshops at the university and national levels. We are privileged and pleased to have such a knowledgeable person amidst us to motivate and inspire us today. A hearty welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm very much privileged to take this opportunity to welcome our today's chief guest for the presentation. Sir, now the session is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Durga. Good afternoon, everyone. Before I start, I would like to convey my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. MGR University for giving me this opportunity to present on this wonderful day. Thank you very much, Dr. Sendamil Pavi, for the introduction just now, and Dr. Geeta, Dr. Subhastri, and also Dr. Kausalya, and Mr. Sarvanan, who has been helping to put together the link today. Thank you very much, everyone. I think I have been well introduced, but I would like to just introduce myself again. I'm Dr. Kesaven Bhubalan from Universiti Malaysia, Terengannu. I did my bachelor's in marine biology and I continued my PhD in microbial biotechnology. So I basically work with marine microbes and to produce, characterize, and also utilize different biomaterials that these bacteria produce from renewable resources. To which my topic, I think, is generally explaining my field of work and expertise. So I would like to start sharing my slides so that we can move on with the presentation for today. Okay, are my slides visible to everyone? I hope you all can see this. Okay. All right. So I think I will be sharing it as it is, and I won't make it full screen because in full screen mode, I could not switch to the other slides. All right. So I'm currently attached to the Faculty of Science and Marine Environment, and I'm the head of marine science, as well as I'm acting Deputy Dean of Talent and Research. So today I would like to present the work that I have done in my my time here as a researcher and academician in UMT, as well as even before when I was doing my PhD. So the title of my talk today is Exploiting Marine Bacteria for Production of Value-Added Biomaterials from Renewable Resources, an Effort Towards Embracing Circular Economy. And now, I think pretty much the title is quite clear that my main source for this particular production of biomaterials are marine bacteria, and I'm using renewable resources as an effort towards embracing circular economy. Now, why marine? I think just now during the introduction section from your registrar from university, he said that life begins from the ocean or from the water. And I think in a way that is true, because if you were just to take 1 ml of seawater, which is equivalent to about 20 drops, you can actually find 10 million bacteria inside that. So just imagine if one bacteria from that particular amount of water is able to produce wonders, breakthrough in medical science, breakthrough in polymer science, to be used for food science and this kind of issues. You know, just imagine how many different kinds of bacteria are there that you can actually isolate and characterize and use for your applications, biotechnological applications. So if you see this picture that I've shared here in this slide, you can see that there are parts of the ocean, some corals here, coral reefs, sponges. These are marine sponges. This is sea cucumber, and this is part of the mangrove as well as estuary areas. Now, these are basically where I resource my bacteria from. So they may be a mixture of marine and brackish bacteria. And this is where I get my bacteria to work with. And it's all around the Malaysian marine or aquatic environment. It's not restricted to Terengannu, right? It's everywhere. Wherever that we can get very good marine bacteria or aquatic bacteria, now we are working with that. Now, as I highlighted just now, just imagine if one bacteria can do wonders, and if you can have that many bacteria collected, the millions amount of bacteria, and bacteria have been known to synthesize various biotechnologically important materials. They're one of the important organisms or microorganisms that we rely upon in the production of enzymes, polymers, therapeutics and antimicrobial substances, toxins, as well as secondary metabolites. So marine bacteria are actually very capable of producing these valuable materials or these biomaterials. And it's basically up to us on how are we going to manipulate this, how are we going to utilize these marine bacteria, and we're going to extract these substances for our own use. Now, moving on to my study, I'm actually employing my marine bacteria to produce two different kinds of substrates or biomaterials. One is known as polyhydroxyalkanoate, or PHA in short. It's a bioplastic. It's a completely degradable material which resembles the properties of plastics. And another is Remnant Lipid, or RL in short. It's actually a biosurfactant. So you may not know, but surfactants are actually used in a lot of our daily applications, right from the food that we consume in the canned food or bottled food, all the way to detergents and washing materials. Surfactants are everywhere. So the main functions of surfactants and what actually we use for, I'll be explaining to you in depth later on. So when it's said as termed as biosurfactant, meaning that it is biologically derived. The same goes to plastics. When it says bioplastics, it's biologically derived or derived using biological organisms or biological resources. So that is what we are trying to venture into. We are trying to reduce our dependency on finite resources based on petrochemical resources or some chemical resources. And we are trying to use more green materials from the biological origin. Now, PHA in short, just now, as you can see, it is accumulated by bacteria intracellularly, that means inside their bodies. When the bacteria is being exposed to imbalanced growth conditions in the presence of extra carbon substrate. Just for example, just like us, if we take in too much of food and we do not actually vigorously exercise, we are going to put a lot of weight. So this same thing applies for the bacteria. They're actually putting on weight. The weight here is PHA in short. All right. So what we do is we actually extract the PHA from the bacteria and we are using it as a biomaterial with biodegradable properties. And there are many different kinds of PHA, and it depends on what the bacteria actually eats or consumes. Because PHA is structurally dependent, so what you feed the bacteria is what the different kinds of PHA that you will get. And normally they are being used in many different applications, which I'll be explaining to you. And the unique properties of PHA or P3HB, which is the most general PHA, they are completely biodegradable upon exposure to the environment. You throw it into the sea, you throw it into your ponds, you just bury it in your backyard. It completely degrades. Depending on the type of PHA and the thickness of that PHA, it completely degrades. It exhibits thermoplastic properties. Thermoplastic properties are meaning that the plastics that you can thermally process, meaning that by giving it heat, you can actually process this material into different shapes and different sizes. And there are some of the PHAs are known for its biocompatibility. Biocompatibility is meaning that you're using it in medical or pharmaceutical applications. So as this table denotes, you can look at the common properties of polypropylene here, the normal plastics that you normally use, and the PHA here. So they are quite general. When you look at the properties, they are quite similar in general, right? And of course, once you have different monomers being attached to the polymer, the properties varies. Now, the applications of PHA is vast, all right? You can actually use it in any applications that you're using plastics right now, from packaging films to common plastic bags, food containers, cutleries, and even medical switches. As I told you, some PHAs are biocompatible. So the diagram that you're seeing in front here is trying to show you that which are the kind of materials that can be actually replaced with PHA. PVC can be replaced with PHA, LDPE, low density polyethylene can be replaced with PHA, polypropylene, polystyrene, and even polylactic acids can be replaced with PHA. And these are the different companies which are actually producing PHA commercially, and they are actually marketing it mainly in US, in Brazil, and in China. So in Japan has just started with Kaneka. So these are commercially available bioplastics or PHA, biodegradable plastics in the market. Okay, on the other hand, rhamnolipid, RL, is the surfactant that I was talking to you about. It's actually a amphiphilic molecule which has hydrophobic and hydrophilic nature. So that is the most important part of the rhamnolipid, which makes it unique, because we want to have an interaction between oil-based materials and water-based materials. So the rhamnolipid is actually the mediator which actually helps the process of emulsion to happen. And basically, rhamnolipid consists of sugar and lipid, and it's produced by bacteria and also other organisms. But the one that I'm focusing right now is bacteria. One of the bacteria strains which is known to produce rhamnolipid in huge amounts with different properties is Pseudomonas. Pseudomonas is a very common bacteria that you can find in marine environment, aquatic environment, and even in terrestrial environment. But of course, with my nature in marine, I focus on marine Pseudomonas. So these are the chemical structures. You can have monorhamnolipids and dirhamnolipids, and the difference is having extra sugar in the dirhamnolipids. So the hydrophilicity is slightly more increased in dirhamnolipid. Application, again, it's very vast, right from food, as I explained just now, into your laundry detergents, your washing materials, even the soap that you use to wash your car per se. Everything has some kind of surfactants inside. And basically, it's being used for pharmaceutical applications as well, because some surfactants are known to have antimicrobial properties. It is even being used in the petroleum industry as a way to recover petroleum. It's known as microbial enhanced oil recovery, or MIOR, where bacteria which can produce rhamnolipids or some kinds of biosurfactants are actually pumped into the well, which has where you have extraction of petroleum or crude oil going on, and it mediates in breaking up the long hydrocarbon chains to make it easier to be extracted. So there's a lot of applications, even in textiles, food industries, bioresources, so on and so forth. So the applications of PHA and rhamnolipid is actually very vast, and you'll be surprised that these are actually being produced by bacteria. Now, my study actually addresses national and global issues. When we look at SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, we are looking at responsible consumption of resources. We are looking at life below water, life on land. And these are the few aspects of few SDG goals that I'm working on with. And Malaysia's roadmap towards single-use plastics, this comes in hand with my PHA research on biodegradable plastics. So if you can look at on the right-hand side of the screen, where you have the global production capacities of bioplastics in 2018, and basically this part here, it denotes all the different biodegradable materials. And if you can see, PHA is one of it, which is highly sought after as a alternative or a substitute to the commonly available plastics, because these are completely biodegradable and it is environmental friendly. Now, just like in any biological production system, there are always challenges for us to face. The main challenge in PHA or rhamnolipid production using microbial strains of bacteria is the fermentation process itself, the upstream and downstream process. The upstream being bacterial strain cultivation, production in a production media, and the downstream being the extraction of the product from the media. As I mentioned earlier, PHA is intracellular accumulation. On the other hand, rhamnolipid is extracellular accumulation, meaning that the bacteria produces outside of its body into the culture medium itself. Now, besides that, carbon substrate. Carbon substrate is the food that you actually feed the bacteria. Many people would like to give pure substrates, for example, sugars, oils, so that you have very high yield at the end. But nonetheless, that is cost absorbing. In my study or in my lab, we look at agriculture waste and byproducts to be given to the bacteria, so that the bacteria can actually convert it, biotransform these waste materials into value-added PHA and rhamnolipid. And nonetheless, the extraction of these two materials, which also cost absorbing. So that's the reason why biodegradable plastics or biosurfactants are actually more expensive than the common plastics and the chemically synthesized surfactants. Now, how can we actually address these issues so that our whole production systems become more commercially viable? A few points that we can actually look at is to look at renewable resources, meaning that the waste materials that I was telling you about, to use alternative culture medium. That means instead of using a very pure culture medium to culture the bacteria, is it possible to use some waste media or treated water or something that you can get in a cheaper form as the culture medium? And nonetheless, the production of PHA and rhamnolipids using new or novel strains that can actually produce in high quantities from very cheap materials. These are some things that you can look at. So all this while, the research that's been going on in my laboratory, we are trying to identify and isolate new bacteria from marine environment and aquatic environment, which can produce high amounts of PHA and rhamnolipid. We have also tried using a bacteria which can produce both PHA and rhamnolipid in a single culture media. As I told you, PHA is internal and rhamnolipid is external. So the bacteria produces PHA internally and secretes rhamnolipid extracellularly. So that means it can produce both. If you can find one good strain like that, then there you go, you hit jackpot. It can do both at the same time. And the other thing is to use renewable resources. Example, agro-industrial waste or byproducts. As you know, Malaysia is a country which is actually focusing a lot on different agriculture commodity, and we have a lot of byproducts as waste materials. So all this, if you can be biotransformed by this bacteria into rhamnolipid and PHA, it's all the better. That means you get cheap resources and you convert it to something which is value added. And of course, to use non-sterile culture medium, as I told you just now, some kind of wastewater or waste treatment water that you can actually use to grow the bacteria instead of a clean culture medium, then it's possible for you to further knock down the production costs. Now, how does my work actually address circular economy? I mean, some of you may already know the concept behind circular economy. It's basically trying to, it's basically trying to reuse the resources, recycle most of the resources that has actually been manufactured and consumed by consumers, meaning that you do not waste the materials. As much as possible, we try to reuse and recycle so that there's always a continuity in the usage of the particular material, and that creates a circular economy. Now, when I was mentioning just now that I'm using renewable resources, two of the good examples that I can give you is when I use materials from the cane sugar refining industry as well as palm oil based oleochemical industry. Now, these two industries are totally different. They're agriculture based, but I'm using marine derived bacteria to actually help remediate the waste management process in these industries by converting the waste or byproducts into value added material. Now, that is a circular economy. So that's how I'm actually focusing on this, and this is what we have been doing. So we get these materials almost at zero value from the industries because they do not want to use it anymore. And then we transform these materials into polyhydroxyalkanoate as well as rhamnolipid using bacteria. The whole process happens in this particular flow, right? Just an example, this is a marine sponge that you can find here. It's known as Uptops. It's found offshore Terengannu waters. And from this marine sponge, we managed to isolate marine bacteria that can actually use these waste materials or byproducts and convert them into polyhydroxyalkanoate and rhamnolipid. Now, the process is, of course, step by step. Initially, we have to identify and isolate and identify the bacteria. And later on, we start with shaken flask cultivation at small lab scale levels. And then we move on to benchtop fermentation cultivation. And finally, we pilot scale it using bigger fermenter equipments. So end of the day, we will get the products that we want, which is PHA and rhamnolipid. So this is the total flow of the work that we have been doing. So interestingly, we have managed to identify these 5 quite good marine strains or aquatic strains that is able to produce PHA as well as rhamnolipid. The things that you see here and 3HB and 4HB, these are actually PHAs of different monomers, and RL denotes for rhamnolipid. If you look at these 2 strains that has been put into this red circle, Massilia haematophilia and Pseudomonas aeruginosa, these 2 strains are capable of producing PHA and rhamnolipid at the same time. So this is what I was mentioning to you earlier. It will be good to find new bacteria which actually can produce both materials at the same time. And we have tried different pure carbon sources from pure materials which is glucose, fructose, and sucrose, as well as from glycerol, molasses, and sweet water, which are from the oleochemical and cane sugar refinery industries. So it looks like the bacteria were able to actually utilize these waste materials and convert them to the value-added PHA and rhamnolipid. Now, this was a success story because we were able to address waste management issue in agriculture industry, at the same time convert that into something which is value added, which can be used in many different applications. I will share with you some of the applications later on in my talk. So basically, this is just to let you know how degradable PHAs really are. So this was a study conducted way back in 2006, practically when I was doing my PhD. This is where PHA was first introduced to me. So we tested out the degradation of PHA in different environments, and we found out that it takes about nearly 6 weeks for the normal PHA film to actually degrade in a mangrove environment. Now, why mangrove environment? Most of the trash that you actually dump in oceans, it is eventually going to be washed up to the mangrove environment, because the mangrove environment, it actually serves as a sponge where it absorbs everything, whichever that is coming from the land and whichever that is coming from the sea. So a lot of plastics tend to end up in mangrove environment. So that's the reason how we actually got into this study. I'm not sure if I can play this here in this mode, but what I wanted to show you here is the gradual degradation of the plastics all the way from a clean film, a sheet, up to the little bit that was left behind after 6 weeks. So that is what I wanted to share with you here in this particular slide. Now, that is for PHA. For rhamnolipid, as I told you, it was a biosurfactant. And what biosurfactant actually does is that it reduces surface tension. So this is a classic example of reduction of surface tension on vegetable oil by rhamnolipid produced by bacteria. All right, I'm trying to see if it's available to play, but sorry, the media is not available to be played in this mode. What you will see here later is that if a drop of that biosurfactant was put onto this oil, the sheet of oil on water, it will actually reduce, and you can see a clear zone forming. So that is what I wanted to show you. You can see such a small clear zone here. This is how actually it starts, and then you have a complete clear zones towards the end. So that is the application of rhamnolipid. Now, there's always a question, when we are doing research, we have so many findings, we have so many novel results to be shared, interesting results to be shared, but what do you do with that? What does it stop there? Your study stops at your literature, or actually can you further that into innovating it into different products that you can actually use as an application? We have to remember that in biotechnology, towards the end, we actually want to come up with different kinds of products, different kinds of intellectual properties to actually address our success in biotechnology field. And this is similar to engineering and also other fields. So what we did is that the materials that we produced in my lab using marine bacteria, which is PHA and rhamnolipid, we kind of used it in different fields to test it and to see whether it was physically viable to be commercialized. And one example is this PHAMAT, P-H-A-M-A-T, or I pronounce it as PHAMAT, is actually the fusion of PHA and rhamnolipid together. As I mentioned earlier, rhamnolipid has some antimicrobial properties, and it was interesting for us to note that these particular antimicrobial properties can be used in shrimp or prawn aquaculture system to target and kill Vibrio bacteria. Now, Vibrio bacteria, they are very pathogenic towards prawns, and they can cause early mortality syndrome, which means the prawn dies in a very early age, as well as it has deformation towards towards when it's growing. So what we can actually do is, when we fuse both of these together, with the PHA, which naturally degrades in the environment, will slowly degrade and release the rhamnolipid, which has been fused together in this particular matte disc kind of shape. So this here actually has PHA and rhamnolipid together. Now, this was a project that I was working with one of the leading companies in shrimp aquaculture in Malaysia. And this particular innovation, which is in the pipeline towards prototype production, has been brought to different inventions and innovations exhibitions, and I have won gold medals not only in Malaysia as well as in international level, all the way in Seoul, Korea. So this product was internationally recognized to be very valuable and has very high commercially potential value. And this particular idea has been patented as well. The other thing that we can actually work with PHA, as I told you earlier, is on due to its biocompatibility in medical or pharmaceutical aspects. What I did was I kind of like designed micro-sized PHA sheets in where we put in vaccine or adjuvanted PHA as an adjuvant to actually hold the vaccine, which has been inoculated vaccines, to be given to buffaloes and calves as well as goats to treat hemorrhagic septicemia. Hemorrhagic septicemia is an internal bleeding where the cows or the goats which have been, interacted with this particular disease, they will die in a very short time. So the problem with the current vaccines that they have in the market is that it does not stay long enough in the body to slowly administer its properties. So it needs some kind of adjuvant or a biomaterial for it to fuse together, so that once the biomaterial slowly degrades, it releases the vaccine. So this is another invention that we did in our lab. And to mind you that this was from marine bacteria using the waste resources. This is how the PHAs were produced, and the PHAs were actually micro-sized, and we have all the different vaccines being implanted together in this particular Velcro kind of base. These two was brought to different innovations and technology exhibitions, and we have won gold and silver medals for this, and this has been patented as well. One of the most recent things that I've been working with is trying to address the pollution of microplastics in marine environment. And one of the main reasons how microplastics end up in marine environment is due to the usage of micro beads or microplastic beads in our toiletries, as well as facial applications. These particular microbeads or plastic microbeads, they act as exfoliant agents, which actually they go deep into your skin to remove the dirt. They are beads. Sometimes you can feel them when you were to buy facial scrubs, and you can feel the facial scrub is a bit rough, some kind of particles inside. These are actually plastic microbeads. Some expensive one may have fruit peels or fruit nuts as the particular exfoliant agent, but the normal cheap ones, or the one that you can afford to buy, or normal people afford to buy, it has plastic microbeads. Now, once you rinse your face, of course, you're cleaning your face is clean, but after that, all these microbeads are actually ending up in your water system and eventually being carried away into the marine environment. And these will end up in marine organisms. So marine organisms will mistake these microparticles for food, and they will consume. And by consuming plastics, there's a biomagnification of this effect from small marine organisms all the way to the bigger marine organisms that we are actually consuming, such as fish. So these microplastics, they act as sponge to absorb all the pollutants in the environment, and they are biomagnifying it into the marine organisms. So one of the innovation that we came up is that we use the polyhydroxyalkanoate beads, we microsize it furthermore from the vaccine, and we incorporate it into facial wash and facial scrub. To mind you, PHA is completely biodegradable. So it is actually as equal as plastics. It's very hard, very rough. At the same time, it is biodegradable. So the moment once we add it into the facial scrub, it does the functions of exfoliation. At the same time, once it is being flushed into the aquatic environment, it completely degrades. And when the marine organisms take it up into their system and they excrete in their excrement, and when the bacteria from the environment act on the excrement and PHA microbead, it is completely degraded. Now, this too has been patented and has been brought to innovation exhibitions where we have won gold medals from this. Ongoing work that I'm trying to do right now with my collaborators is that to further enhance the circular economy concept, meaning that we are trying to take commercially available plastic waste, and we are trying to co-pyrolysis this particular plastic waste using microwave co-pyrolysis technique to produce bio-oil. This bio-oil is later fed to the bacteria, and the bacteria actually produces bioplastics from this bio-oil. Now, this is truly a circular economy whereby you do not waste any part of that plastic material, you are reusing it and reconverting it and ending up as carbon dioxide in the environment, which is then being used up by the plants again, and the whole process goes on and on again. So this is one of the ongoing work that I'm doing in my laboratory with my researchers. Basically, these are some of the publications that I would like to share with you, which actually addresses my lab's effort in working with bioplastics and biosurfactant, as well as on addressing circular economy. The following are my collaborators. I work together with Universiti Science Malaysia, National Taiwan Ocean University, NUS, National University of Singapore, and the University of St. Augustine in Philippines, as well as University of Brussels and Nanyang Technology University of Singapore. These are my collaborators and my partners when we work together and on this common goal of biomaterials and circular economy. And I'm actively working with industries as well, with Spontex, which is actually glove making companies. So we are trying to put in biodegradable materials into gloves. And I'm working with the shrimp aquaculture industry, which I explained to you about the use of farmate just now. And of course, with a few other industries where we are trying to work out biodegradable materials, antimicrobial materials, and even sanitizing materials. I think that's all. That's the end of my slides. And before I end, I would like to thank you and thank you for listening. And I would like to acknowledge the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Higher Education in Malaysia, Ministry of Science and Technology and Innovation, as well as the industries that actually supply me the materials. And these are the pictures of my postgraduate students, which are the backbone of my research. They are the ones who are actually contributing a lot to all the work that we are doing. And with that, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi. Hi, can you see me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Hi, and a very good evening. I bid to the lecturers and my fellow friends at Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute. It is a pleasure for my friend and I to promote our beloved Faculty of Science and Marine Environment FSME of University of Malaysia Terengannu. So without further ado, I now present to you the corporate video of UMT. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll be amazed on how spectacular UMT is. So, okay.
There's no audio. We can't hear the audio.
Pardon?
There's no audio. We can't hear the. There's no audio available. Yes.
Oh, okay. Rasa nak macam ni. Saya try. Tak ada bunyi. Okay. Okay. So how was it? Okay, UMT really does beautiful and close to nature. Next, we also have International Center in UMT. Okay, UMT it facilitate the collaboration academic disciplines and also student body. Okay, this is the building of our faculty, Faculty of Science and Marine Environment, Universiti Malaysia Terengannu, and this is our Dean, Associate Professor Dr. Marina Muhammad Arifin. Dengarkan. Okay. Our faculty also offers postgraduate studies in both coursework and research study. In coursework, we offer Master Science, Environmental Forensic. Meanwhile, for research study, they'll be offered under these 4 major fields. So you can choose which field you are interested to be in. We have marine science, chemical science, biological science, and also nanophysics. Okay, next, these are the undergraduate bachelor science courses. Furthermore, I would like to highlight the research interest group in our faculty. First, we have Biological Security and Sustainability Biosas. The mission of this research interest group is to empowering knowledge through advanced research for community security and sustainability. Next, we have ANOMA Research Group, Advanced Nanomaterials Research Group. These are the members of this group, and this is our lecturers and our researchers. They have already attended Seoul International Invention Fair. Okay, it was held in Seoul, Korea. And this is a Microplastic Research Interest Group, MRIG. Their mission is to raise awareness of plastic pollution. Okay, next, my friend will continue.
Okay, so another research interest group is ocean pollution and ecotoxicology. So the mission is for empowering marine and aquatic resource-based research. Okay, this is members of the group. Okay, furthermore, we have research and education on environment for future sustainability. So this is some of the researchers. Okay, last but not least, we have Paleoceanography Research Interest Group. So the mission is to empower the paleoceanography studies in Malaysia. Okay, so we move to the teaching and research activities in UMT. So here we can see computers laboratory in UMT. Some of students are doing their research. So these two labs refer to the central lab, which is the biggest lab in UMT. Okay. So this is the research activities in UMT. So here is some lab use for students. Okay, so this is the research facilities. So here we can see example of the research facilities such as UV spectroscopy, total organic carbon analyzer, and this is scanning electron microscopy, force tension, phase dry, chemical discrete analyzer, surface area and porosity analyzer, BET, burner emitter, and this also the other research facilities. So we can see here a lot of the research facilities in UMT. Okay, so this is apparatus in a lab. Example, this is furnace. This also a tube furnace. Okay, so that's all for our presentation. Okay, so if you have any question more, you also can go to the website or Facebook FSSM official UMT, official FSSM, or call this number. And also email at fssm.umt.edu.my.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, PG students, University of Malaysia, for sharing your precious thoughts with us. So thank you, sir. It was extremely informative to us. You made us all spellbound with your pleasant talk, and we are so honored and privileged to have you with us today. And we have questions from participants. So
Yes,
let me
sure.
first
Thank you.
read one question from Lalit Kumar.
Yep.
Like PHA and RL, any other molecules are there for bioplastic?
Bioplastics are actually made of different kinds of materials. Remnant Lipid is not used for bioplastics, but PHA, yes. Besides PHA, we have polylactic acid, which can be used for bioplastics. We have, besides polylactic acid, any starch-based materials that can be used for bioplastics. The common ones would be PBAT, PLA, which is polylactic acid, and as well as PHA. So there is like some different monomers that can be used for bioplastics, which are completely degradable in the environment. But remnant lipid is not basically used for bioplastics.
Thank you. And there is another question from Aparna. Can we use bioplastic for food packaging? And if we use that, will it improve the shelf life of the food products?
Okay, definitely it can be used for food packaging. One thing is it will not have any adverse effect with the food materials because it is of its inert nature. But depending on what kind of materials you use, I'm not really sure whether it will improve the shelf life, but it can actually maintain the shelf life like how it is being used with the normal common plastic. That means if using a common normal plastic wrapper, you can keep it for 1 year. You can do the same with bioplastics. It can actually maintain the same amount. To whether it will actually improve is current ongoing research. People are actually working on this, but it's not been commercialized yet on this particular aspect.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And one more question. Whether marine biopolymers can be used for implantation? If so, give some examples and explain to us.
Okay. Yeah, marine biopolymers, namely one of it is PHA. Besides that, it can be even polysaccharides. These are also kind of biomaterials produced by marine organisms. These can be actually used in uh, implantation. For example, for bone construction surgeries, it can be implanted as for that aspect. It can be used as sutures. It can be used for wound healing materials. It can be used as bone grafting just now. Even for heart valve designing, heart valves can also be made out from biomaterials. It can be used as an implant for that. So basically, these are the few examples that you can actually use for as implants.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. And there is a last question from Geeta. What is
Yep.
the role of biosurfactant?
Okay. Biosurfactants are actually there to reduce the surface tension between two different media. So basically, oil and water. These are commonly used between oil and water to create emulsions. So biosurfactants actually reduce the surface tension of water and any other kind of liquid. So by reducing the surface tension, it is actually making it possible for this emulsion to be carried out, so that you have emulsified oil molecules. So this makes it miscible. So basically, biosurfactants, that is the purpose. Is basically for you to create these kinds of emulsion, and at the same time, when you're adding into cleaning detergents or agents, when you're cleaning surfaces which has oil, it will ease the process of the absorbance of the oil from that particular surface due to this amphiphilic nature of biosurfactants. That means it can adhere itself to water as well as the oil. So it helps to actually trap the oil molecules when you're cleaning it and to make it easier to clean. That is if it's in detergent. If it is in some kind of food materials, it's basically for allowing fatty materials to be incorporated into water-based materials, so for this emulsion to take place. So these are common applications of biosurfactants. Besides that is, of course, in antimicrobial properties as well, because some biosurfactants have antimicrobial properties, so they can be used not only for surface tension reduction, at the same time it can also exert some kind of antimicrobial properties.
Thank you, sir. It was so informative and you really radiated a positive energy among us. And
Thank
now,
you very much.
yes, sir. Yes, now I would like to call Dr. R. Kausalya, Coordinator, Office of International Relations, to deliver a vote of thanks.
Yes, good afternoon. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon. Education, Office of International Relations of Dr. MGR Education. Dynamic, whose constant support, guidance, and generous funding, which plays a significant role in organizing the international webinars, seminars, workshops, faculty development programs, student and faculty exchange programs all across the globe. Thanks to our higher executives, Dr. S. Geeta Lakshmi ma'am, Registrar Sir, Joint Registrar Dr. Cyril Raj Sir, Dean EPA Dr. L. Ramesh Sir for their tremendous support in organizing this webinar. Special thanks to Dean ENS Dr. Subhashri ma'am, BA Principal Dr. Geeta ma'am and the team for all their hard work and coordination in organizing this memorable event. Heartfelt thanks to the eminent speaker, Dr. Kesaven Bhubalan Sir, Head of Marine Science and Acting Deputy Dean, Faculty of Science and Marine Environment, University Malaysia, Terengannu, Malaysia. Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us with your highly informative, thought-provoking, and inspiring talk. Looking forward for many more collaborations with you, sir. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kausalya.
Thank you so much, sir. Many thanks to Professor Lee Oon Ju, ma'am, from UMT Malaysia for giving a crucial contact to our university. And thanks to all the participants for making this event a grand success. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kausalya.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir. Thank
Thank
you all
you.
for participating in today's webinar. And dear participants, feedback link is posted in the chat box. Kindly fill it and submit. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.